four-way stop. It was jammed up like crazy.
Oh, really?
There was probably a mile back up on all three areas going to the beach. Probably some new stuff.
Yeah, because someone doesn't.
Yeah, actually, it's a balance.
Right.
That's right.
And they didn't even want to ride off by yourself.
Cruising through it, I didn't pay attention.
I mean, well, and I do sometimes try to remember to like use my turn signal, so it at least gives people a heads up that they can go and look at that. But you never, that's how far past anyone's turn signal. Like, these people are driving around like with their turn signal on all day, so. To read it, you know.
I gotta figure out my readers, so.
We need magnifying glasses for some of this.
Can you pass those down?
Well, if you take a picture with your phone and zoom in.
All right, I got 6 o'clock, so I will call this finance committee meeting to order. We are going to be covering, I believe, Q1 financials and whatever our esteemed Director of Finance, Andre Dordio, wishes to grace us with. So with that, I'll kick it over to you, Mr. Dordio.
Okay, so I will expeditiously go through these. If there are any questions, your questions are very important. I want to make sure we get those answered. And then when I'm finished, I'll turn it over to the captain, and the captain, Joe will go over operations. So we'll head right in. I will say the budgetary side is remarkably unremarkable, so that's the way we want to have it. But the first part of the report, I always like to show what I call our activity measures, and I would draw your attention to the top, which is our income tax receipts. You'll see that the bottom line, our total receipts net of refunds for the quarter is up, I think 7.7% or $465,000. That's very good, considering March year-over-year inflation was 3.3%, so this is real economic growth, not inflation growth. In those individual categories, you'll see that withholding was up 5% or $251, and business net profits was up a staggering 42.7% or $242,000. I would add that the reason why individual was down about $28,000 or 7.1% is because of the refund effect. We had greater refunds in this year versus last year, 63,000 versus I think 24 last year. So anyway, all in all, that's looking really good, our income tax receipts. The other, below there are other good measures. If you'll see our building permit valuations, I'll give all credit to Joe back here, but I don't know what he's doing to drum up that business, but we were at 13.3 million in our building permit valuations last year. For the first quarter, we're at 32.7 million, as you can see. That's a huge increase there. So that's a good sign for our local economy. Lodging tax through February, it's down about 3%, which is only $1,400, and that's how we started last year. Strangely enough, we ended up 1%. So not worried at all about that either. And water, it's, again, if you look at our water bill, we billed 9% more, which is pretty incredible this first quarter. And here's why it's even more incredible, because if I look back to 2015, we billed 412 million gallons. In 2024, we billed 345 million gallons. That's 67 million gallon decrease, or about a reduction of 2% per year for a 9-year period, which is pretty amazing, and that's because people are conserving. On the other side of the equation, our industrial was up 294 million gallons during that same period. So, it's pretty amazing. Well, it's you know, our factories, or not factories, but our food producer, Daisy's accounted for a lot of that. But the other thing is, I won't really comment on that. You'll see I keep the unemployment rates. They were, Ohio and the United States was released through February. January, Wayne County hasn't been released yet. And the final thing I would say, which is again more good news, Wayne County sales tax for the period of January and February is up 6.5%, which again is above the rate of inflation. So I'd entertain any questions if you have any questions about our economic indicators. And if not, I'll move right to the general fund financial information. Oh, our captain has something. Captain has something.
Can I add one thing?
Yes.
I was talking to Joe about the increase
Yes.
in the construction valuation, and and you'll see this fluctuate depending on big projects, but for this quarter, some of the largest part, and we didn't get into the details, 2/3 maybe of it, is 2 restaurants that were, those permits were issued here this quarter, which were, Chick-fil-A and Texas Roadhouse, and then the Village Network has a very large building that they're building, and those accounted for a large chunk of that increase. So,
All right, so if I could draw your attention to page two is our general fund. You're gonna see our revenues on the top, expenditures on the bottom, and tagged against budget for year-to-date, first quarter. So the other thing I did here differently, normally I would group taxes all together, but since our property taxes are more than what they used to be, I thought I would break those out. So since there's 3 tax components, I broke all 3 out. So as you'll see, the first 3 items are income, property, and hotel taxes. So income taxes are, from budget standpoint, right on budget. Our property taxes show they're, over budget, but keep in mind, we get those twice a year, March and October normally, so they're gonna look skewed on the budget side. But there was that I had to comment on, and under the grants, you see that the percentage is crazy. That's only because of the timing of a grant. We thought we were gonna get it in 2025, and we got it early in 2026. Otherwise, we're in a really good place. You'll see our revenues at the bottom line there, we're 2.6% over budget, so that's obviously a favorable thing. On the expenditure side, in every department or program but one, our personal services are under budget, and the reason it's not under the transportation services is because for the first 3 months of the year, we had a little more overtime on snow and ice control than we had it the prior year. That's all. So again, it just shows that category. But all in all, I would say if you look at the bottom period of the bottom, again, we're in a good place. We're right about the same on a favorable variance on our expense side. So together, that's a 5% delta right there to the good. So I would expect that, but we're very, again, happy to see that. So I'd say we're in a good place with our general fund.
Andre, do
Yes,
you
Steve.
happen to know where the property tax was at Q1 this time last year?
Yeah, let me see. I mean, it was very close to this, Steve. I'm gonna say 2.5. So, yeah, that was the big bump we got last year over the year prior. So, yeah, we were just slightly under those.
Okay.
Yeah. So, if there are no questions, page three is, we have 3 special revenue funds that we use to do our street maintenance repair. You'll see that we are, and just as a reminder, intergovernmental, well, the first one is taxes, so we have a tax levied on our license plate. So if you live in Worcester and you get your license plate renewed, it's permissive tax. That be direct taxes. Intergovernmental are taxes that we get from other governments, so we get those from the state of Ohio when you pay your state fees. And some county fees as well. But, so you're gonna see that, again, we're right on the money as our revenues to budget, and then on the other side, the expenses, that side of the ledger, we're 2% under budget. So again, we're categorized right on. It's obviously unremarkable, good news, and again, what we would expect, but then there's no questions. I'll go to the next page, which is page 4, and it should be our capital projects fund. So there's a couple items that I just want to draw your attention to. You'll see the intergovernmental, which is line 1 under revenues there, those are grant proceeds. And again, just a reminder, these are reimbursable grants. So once construction season starts up and we submit for these mostly federal grants, thank you, we will, you'll start seeing monies coming in there. There's something else. Oh, I wanted to also point out that under the miscellaneous section, that 70,000 there was, it's a donation for the Oak Hill Pond dredging and restoration project, which is underway right now if you drive by there. So again, we will get, once that's finished, we'll get that reimbursed for that, and you'll see that most likely in quarter 2 or quarter 3.
$3 donation?
No, I'm sorry, it's the 70, under the 70 that I budgeted. The 3 was just somebody, you know, we might have sold something on something called Gov Deals.
Somebody dropped it on the floor and you didn't know where to put it?
Yes. So, yeah, we try to count it, you know, to the penny.
That's the fund that's over at the Wayne County Community Foundation.
Yeah, so that would be from the Wayne County Community Foundation, the 70,000 donation, so, but you'll see that, like I said, soon. If there's no questions, the next page again is the water fund, and there are a couple items to note on here. Our second category there, which, again, on intergovernmental services are grants, so those haven't come in yet, obviously, but charges for services, that's the big one we obviously watch, because that's our big revenue driver, and we're, you know, 40 basis points under budget, or I consider that right on budget. The other thing I did want to comment on this was that under the miscellaneous in this section, I think it's like 6 items down under revenue, you'll see that I budgeted 970,000. The big item here was something, the Forever Chemicals or PFAS chemical settlement we received, which thanks to Mike Fritz filling out a bunch of paperwork for a lawsuit. So we were supposed to receive about 940 in 2026. Well, they sent it at the end of 2025. So I recorded that in 25. However, they've been updating, you know, with these lawsuits, so we're scheduled to receive 339,000 this year. So that's gonna, budget versus actual is always obviously gonna be low, so but we did receive it, end of last year, so we got the money. And again, they upped their amount for us to receive in 2026. And all we did is just fill out a class action paperwork lawsuit. That was really much it. I don't wanna say downplay it, but Fritz put a lot of time and effort into it, but compliments to him for doing that. And again, anyway, so under the expenditures here, our personal services, you'll see, and our O&M are under budget, so operating expenses are 5.5% under budget. On every scenario, for the most part, you can see our capital under budget. That's because, I think I've mentioned this every first quarter, is that our construction season starts right now. So it's Q2, starting to ramp up through, obviously, through the third quarter. So that's all I really had to say, other than, again, that's good news on the water fund. Next slide, please. The next fund would be our water pollution control fund, and again, I draw your attention to line number 2, that's our charge for services. Charges for services are basically 80 basis points, 1% over budget for 3 months. Again, that's a favorable thing, and then we did, down below that, we did have a big debt proceed payment. It's an EPA loan that the EPA gave us, so we had some expenditures in the fourth quarter that were significant, and we got reimbursed in the first quarter this year. So that's why it looks like it's over budget, just from that perspective. But all in all, you'll see that revenues came in at 6% over for the first quarter. But again, my concern always is the charge for services, which is our bread and butter. And the same thing on the water pollution control fund. On the expenditure side, you'll see that our total operating expenditures were 5% under budget, which included a 2% in the personal services and then a 10% under O&M. So again, favorable first quarter results for our water pollution control fund. And I would also reiterate to you that, so if you look at usage, the gallons treated, residential, 2015 versus 2024, we treated 74 million gallons less. But under the industrial, we've treated 320.6 million more. So again, it just flip-flops just like the water fund.
Before we move on, just
Pardon
on, before we move on.
Yeah.
On the fines, licenses, and permits.
Yeah, those are,
Is that due to construction or the
so you know
increase
what
in
that
compliance?
normally is, if somebody doesn't pay the bill, they get dinged on it, that's normally, so,
Okay,
yeah, it's a good question. So, and then, you're gonna see this theme continue, the next slide, page number 7 is our storm drainage fund. So, we're basically statistically right on for our charges for services. Let's see, interest income, I believe, was a little over, and miscellaneous, I can't remember why miscellaneous was, I'll have to catch the next meeting on that one, but, so you'll see we're about 2% or 1.8% actually over where we should be budget-wise. And same thing on the other side, where our operating expenses are about 4% under budget, including personal service, a good thing. And our, I think we have 2 projects budget, they haven't started yet, that's why you're seeing 0 under the capital side. So again, favorable is there as well. And then a little bit of a yawner here on page 8, our trash fund. Again, if we contract this out, so most often it will be within, within a couple, either no variance or within, 20 to 50 basis point variance. So that's just to fill you in. Now, it's something kind of exciting, if you turn to page number 9, this is a snapshot of our portfolio summary at March 31st, 2026. So for a little comparison's sake, let's go back and look one last year, the quarter. So this year, we're averaging 3.95 yield to maturity, our weighted average yield to maturity. Last year at this time, we were at 3.23, which is a 72 basis point difference. So, and if you look at the value of our portfolio, 106 million bucks there, if you do the annual math on that, that's like $750,000. That's significant dollars, people. So we are taking advantage, obviously, of our current interest rate environment, and we will continue to do so. Our measure of maturity, which is our weighted average maturity in years, last year was 206, it's up a little bit at 208 this year. And it should be noted that our average credit rating in this portfolio is AA+, which is good. Is there anything else I want to say about that?
Andre, could you just explain?
Yeah.
Pardon my ignorance,
No.
weighted average life in years?
Yeah.
What's that signifying?
Well, our weighted average life in years is significantly, pretty much the same as the weighted average maturity, but there's slight differences in there.
I guess what's that measuring, or what
So-
should I consider?
So,
like,
well,
good or
so
bad?
life in years versus maturity, some of these are callables, so there's just slight variations in that, and for our purposes, you can see there's no difference. Now, the portfolio effective duration is a price sensitive to interest rates, which is a measure of risk. So that's why it's showing you duration, because it is, it's showing you those callables and what else do we have now? I think we just want mostly some callables. So that's why that effective duration is slightly lower, because it includes those calculations in that.
So just pretty much the average length of what we have inside the investment portfolio.
Exactly, yeah.
Thank you.
And then there's a little snapshot which shows you in the middle there, US agencies, treasuries, CDs, and then money market funds, but for your.
We've been able to take advantage of favorable yield rates with inflationary pressures, things going on right now. Can we expect that to continue, or do you plan
No.
to see it decreasing?
I mean, right now, we're, I want to say optimistically bullish on current interest rate environment for the next, at least through November. And the other nice thing that we're taking advantage of is the yield curve, as you know, even the short side is fairly significantly high compared to what it was. We're actually like playing the float aggressively, I'll say. In 3 days, like over the weekend, we're dumping it, and even for 3 days, and even if we're gonna make $2,700 or, I mean, so we've been aggressively doing that. So, playing the float. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. Interestingly enough, I look back at 2023, our yield to maturity was 173. So significantly higher. Anyway, so yeah, optimistic. So it was a good first quarter. So, Captain, what's next? Oh, there's some.
The rest of the presentation, something Andre and I worked on together. this is just a snapshot, which was just published in your spring, summer newsletter. So Andre already went over the first 3 bullets there. But one of the things we wanted to point out, especially with all the talk that's going on with property tax and taxes right now, is that, just so everybody is aware of this, and Andre talked about the sales tax, or, yeah, the county sales tax going up, which is great, you know, and a good indicator. But a lot of our public don't understand that we don't, the cities in Ohio anyway, it's different in different states, but in Ohio, municipalities receive 0 sales tax. So, but, you know, and this is something I worked with Jonathan on here, Worcester accounts for over 45% of all of the county sales tax, which makes sense. We're the county seat. There's a lot of your, you know, your purchases and things, but that's pretty significant. And if you look at all taxes, property tax, sales tax, it's just under 27% Worcester generates for the entire county. So when you look at everything else together, I'm sorry, with property taxes, then when you look at everything together, it's almost 34% of all county revenues are derived from taxes generated in the city of Worcester, which is significant. So just thought that was an interesting point. And then these graphs here are right out of what we call, what finance and generates every year, called the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, which is on, it's usually like a year behind, so these are up to 24. But when we were talking about looking at the first quarter, we thought, you know, there's really some good information that gives you sort of a 30,000-foot view, or how are we doing as a city as we're every year budgeting, every year putting money into capital, every year issuing debt or paying off debt. Just to give you, you know, an overall, how have we been doing and where are we going overall, as you're seeing these things.
Yeah, then you'll find those at the end of, at the last section of our annual comprehensive financial report.
Right.
And this graph just, it says net financial position, but if you're familiar with the private sector, it's like over your equity or your overall net worth. So the city's net worth, as you see, it's going up, which is, I guess, a good thing.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
between this one and the next page, what happened in 2017 and 18 to account for that little dip there?
oh, well, it wasn't COVID, I can tell you that. That's a good question.
I mean, it looks like according to the next slide, our liabilities jumped, but
Yeah.
I was trying to rack my
I'm
brain
trying
on
to,
what happened. at
yeah,
that
let me
time.
think.
Safety center?
What's that?
Safety center? When was that?
Safety center was 16.
That
Was that-
might have been something,
Was that
believe it or
when
not.
that hit?
Yeah, I don't know. See if I will check that and
Okay.
I'll get back to you. Let
I
me-
was just curious.
No, that's a great question, but,
Yeah, these two are both related, you know, this is just the combined of the two.
and you can see where the liabilities tick up. You know what this probably was? So we had to start, this is gonna sound strange, but so we have to add our OPERS liability, even though we're not responsible for that. And I'm pretty sure that was it. So it ticked up, yeah, so I think that was OPERS liability. And with better investment returns, you're seeing that liability less on that side of the OPERS. That's exactly what it was, okay. I just had to
So-
talk that through.
Yeah.
And obviously, assets are what we own, and liabilities are what we owe. So those are our cars, roads, buildings, and then liabilities are our bonds, notes, and is that OPERS, comp taps, it's accounts payable. Anyway, sorry.
The nice thing, what it shows is our assets, you know, are greater than our obligations, so, which is
That's where we
good.
want to be.
You know, which is good, and because of the trend you're seeing, you know, that's showing an upward trend. That's just continually more financially secure every year. So
Yes.
that's, it's all good, but we thought it's good information, we've been publishing it every year, and it's like, you know, this is really something. This is just separating those two out, but you combine them, you get the previous one.
And so you're gonna see that same thing here, see how that jumped? And that was the implementation of that OPERS.
Right.
And if, this is only our governmental funds. If you look at the business type funds, it's even worse, because the hospitals in there, you know, with their large
Sure.
employment base, but anyway, but we had to follow the government accounting standards practices, even though, again, we, the city of Worcester, are not on the hook for our OPERS. A lot of states they are, most, I would say they are, for their, like CalPERS and their other state funded pension plans. Anyway, but what you're seeing is here is where the trends, we look at the trends and then you see we're on the more sustainable side.
Yeah, so total liabilities the city owes compared to how much revenue it collects every year. So here again, this one, you want to see the trend going down, which you do see, which is good. You know, if it's falling, we're gaining, you know, we're obviously continuing to have more revenue than our obligations, so.
The next slide is Joel's favorite, because it talks about building stuff.
So, yeah, current value of the city's physical aspects compared to their original cost. So, you know, really what it's telling you is how well are we keeping up with our infrastructure and our assets? How well are we maintaining that infrastructure? So, a low value would mean that things are aging and wearing out. But since it, you know, and if it's declining trend, that means we're falling behind on our maintenance. But if it's stable or rising, so if it's just stable, we're keeping up, we're just keeping up. But if it's rising, you know, we're doing more than keeping up with our assets and with our infrastructure, so.
And the key is it's net book value, which means what we paid for it less depreciation. So every year, depreciation is showing that, you know, like, this, like the roads have less useful life, safety center has less useful life. So that number of that is shrinking even though, but yet our percentage is increasing because we're actually reinvesting in our assets.
And when we get into more of the nuts and bolts of the operations, then you'll see why that is. You know, we'll talk about some of those things.
I'll show you right now.
So, now these are data also out of some of the statistical sections in the annual comprehensive financial report. But this is getting a little more granular. So what you're seeing here is streets and transportation, which includes public transit, street maintenance, snow and ice removal, all those things together. And so you see the total cost, which has been pretty darn consistent, you know, for the last 6 years. But the other thing you see are the cost per mile of street. So you're taking into account how much it costs, inflation, everything else, but also we're adding miles of street anytime there's any annexation. You know, so you want to look at this and see how are we doing overall. So you see that the cost per mile is, you know, going up, it's measured, going up a little bit. That's probably mostly just inflation for materials and things. And then just looking at feet of street per citizen. So how many, you hear people talk about, oh, there's been tons of annexation, and tons of, you know, well, not really, because if you look at this, you'll see that it hasn't really, you know, population's gone up a little bit historically. It's starting to go down now, but historically. So you're basically not gaining more street overall than you are a little bit of population, so.
What do you just to attribute this? This is pretty incredible given inflationary rates over the last 5 years, Joel. How are we maintaining
Yeah.
essentially the EKG of a rock on the total cost?
Right. So Kurt's guys do a great job, you know, so we do as much in-house as we can, you know, and so we do both. And John Rice and Kurt do a good job of dividing up the projects and doing a lot. So you're saving a lot in labor if you can do some things in-house. I don't think we've seen a huge increase in asphalt. We probably will be, but we haven't been for the last this is just the last 5 years. So it looks different if you go back, you know, 20 years, which we have, if you're interested in that. But I think we haven't seen that huge increase, you know. So I think that's part of it. The other one is we haven't, when we have done some annexations, you haven't seen a big increase in mileage. You know, it's been areas of land like the Graham Farm, which wouldn't be in these calculations yet, but that was mostly land, not a lot of mileage of streets. So, and we're just doing a good job keeping up with stuff. You might see a little jump because we'll start booking some of those transit services, you know, you'll probably see in future years, but even then, we got a lot of grant money that takes that down, so that's good as well. But I think this just shows, you know, we're doing a pretty good job, we're maintaining. The other thing is we just haven't been increasing people. So even though you might see some more miles of roads and things like that, and we haven't really, you know, we barely increased people. That's been, if you look at over the years, it just hasn't been a significant increase. Next one, this is just strictly roads. And so this was data right from, you know, engineering and maintenance of the actual just streets, nothing else. It doesn't include snow and ice removal, doesn't include transit or anything else like that. And this also includes any work ODOT did inside the city limits, which there are. And so those are some of the spikes you see here. You see peaks in 18, 20, and 22. So in 2022, for those that were here then, we came back towards the end of the year and we said, we have money, we can do another $1 million of concrete repair and other things. So we came to council, basically did twice the paving that year, you know, and appropriated some more money, did some more concrete work at that time, right at the end of 21, bid it out, and then built it in 22. In 2020, we had a large microsurfacing, local paving, LPA, and 2 major reconstructions that we did at that time, West Highland and Sunset Lane, so that's the peak, the spike there. And then 2018 was one of those large urban paving projects ODOT did when they came through and did it, so we still are showing how much was paved, even though we didn't pay much of that, so just, it is fluctuate based on projects. You know, about every other year, we do a sort of a large project reconstruction, so that's why you'll see it fluctuate a little bit.
In most communities that publish I call it ACRA, publish this data, so you can actually, if you're a data geek or wondering how your neighbor's doing, like, hey, what's your action doing? The service indicator, you can normally get a decent gauge on what you're spending versus the community next to you, or any community, basically.
Right. So that average there, we've averaged, you know, resurfacing, paving, reconstruction, about 10 miles a year, and about $2.1 million that's been done. So, some other service indicators, this is our police division, and what you see here in green, total calls for service. You can see those have pretty significantly gone up over the years, over the last 5 years. The blue, though, is your cost per unit or cost per service, and you see that going down. Again, we haven't added people, or very little, so that's why you see that. And then the red is cost per citizen, which you see is pretty level over the years, over the last few years. So,
Joel, again, sorry to be just asking, remarkable efficiency here. How much stress is that putting on our officers in general?
yeah, I mean, so not like it used to be when we would have an average of anywhere from, you know, half a dozen to a dozen openings in a year, and we just haven't had that. Now we're down about 3, I think, 3 or 4 right now, just from retirements and things. But so that's something we're watching all the time. And how much is overtime? You know, how is that affecting people? So I mean, we keep track of a whole bunch of statistics on that. And
Are the results we're seeing here a result of strategic budgeting, or are they tactical decisions that are being made at Chief Fisher's level to increase the efficiencies?
all of the above.
Okay.
So we're looking at that. So, you know, we do, you know, for lack of a better term, a large spreadsheet that shows all of the different types of services, all the data, you know, all of the tasks that are done by, you know, how much does it take to, you know, investigate a case in the detective department? How long, the average, what does that take, you know? The average call going downtown, if it's just a call, if it's a safety check, or, you know, average time for a traffic stop. So so it's literally, you know, hundreds and hundreds of things long, and we add all that up, say, how much time did that take? Divide that by the number of hours, you know, in a year, and you can get how many people would you need to cover those. And so we're looking at that every year, and we're right where we need to be, you know, right now. So, I mean,
No,
we look-
actually, it's a remarkable story.
yeah, so, and yes, Matt Fisher and his crew up there are doing a remarkable job. Getting a little bit ahead, when we get to the operations, there's some things that they've implemented over the last couple of years that have really been efficient. And I think when you do things and you're proactive, then you cut down on some of the types of calls that take more time, and you'll see that. Our major crimes are down significantly. So you're being more efficient that way, when you don't have to take all that time because those other.
Do you have an indicator on the rise of the calls, increase?
Yeah, so I have a little more data in the operations piece that I'll share with you when we get there. Yeah, so this is just data right out of the annual comprehensive financial report, so.
Just to make sure I'm reading it correctly, we get approximately just under 50,000 calls to the police a year.
Yep.
Every time one of those calls happens, it costs the police department / the city about a little over $200.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay.
very similar for the fire side of things. Total responses you see, which has been pretty consistent over the last several years. You see the cost per response, again, haven't really increased, personnel that much. The one thing you do see over time, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, is the split. If you go back, say, 20, 30 years, we were about 75% fire, 25% EMS. Now we're actually pushing a little above 80% on average for EMS, and just under 20 for fire. And there's lots of reasons for that, which we'll get into. Aging population, demographics getting worse. We've done a lot more with community risk reduction inspections and fire inspections and fire reviews, those kind of things. So that's helped lower the number of fires that we see. So.
And just a reminder that the COVID happened, I think, by March 2020, so that you're gonna see
Yes.
some goofy data, like when you see these troughs.
Now you get the parks, and COVID definitely had an impact
Yeah.
in 2020 there. I don't know, Phil, if you wanted to talk about this one a little bit.
Yeah, so obviously public properties, spending has regained its pre-COVID, not only spending, but the cost per citizen has regained its pre-COVID numbers. And that's in addition to adding more acreage to our parks. That includes the Clear Creek Park down off of by Silver by Venture, and then also some additional acreage out at Worcester Memorial. So more parks, average cost per citizen is down. Yeah.
Okay.
And the rec is the same story. We've regained our pre-COVID numbers, and you will also see that participation has been going up steadily. This is attributed to many more offerings that a rec department has been able to add to its roster, in addition to the typical things you see, like soccer, t-ball, baseball, all that stuff. They've offered some more things for the older population as well. Alzheimer's, tax preparation, things like that. So the cost per citizen has actually declined a little bit, so. Keep it short so we can get to the other one if you want.
Okay, sure.
You good?
Yep.
All right.
You can we're gonna switch presentations on you, so you have this presentation at your desks. We won't be spending a ton of time on each of these 47 pages. But we wanted to, so all this information in this report mostly comes out of the individual managers' annual reports they do. There's a whole lot more data in the annual reports. Those are all online. This report is intended to sort of be a summary of that. So in each of those annual reports, you'll see sort of an executive summary and highlights. And so we've pulled some of those just to highlight, and there's, you won't see it on the presentation, but your version has all the notes which have some of that summary, and that's really for publication for our citizens also to see. So this is also, we just put this out on the website as well, so people have this information. And then you'll get to see a little bit of what's behind some of the numbers we just went across there. So the first part of this, and I think at each of your desks you have a little card here, which are fairly new. I think Craig was at our staff employee luncheon that we had a month or so ago, and we went over this. So I'm not going to go over this in detail, but this is just our city core values. You just see them pretty streamlined: stewardship, integrity, hospitality. And so the other thing that goes into that hospitality piece that you'll see as we go forward here is, and this is just both sides of that card so you can see what's on that. And what's, as an organization internally, what we're trying to achieve anyway. Obviously, we continue to work on this and hopefully get better at all of this, but part of it is looking a little bit more at what we do is from a hospitality standpoint, sort of like you'd see if you went to a restaurant or you went to a hotel, and really looking at it from the user's perspective. How can we get you what you need? How can we get you there? So we're working on this. All of our managers went through sort of our process mapping and what are points in our processes where we're actually interacting with with our citizens. We have surveys out there like you would get when you go somewhere and you get a survey. Hey, how'd we do? So you see these up at various places. Just a real short survey. How'd we do? Who'd you interact with? What could we do better? So, we're, just so if you see those, and that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to get feedback and be a little bit better, create more of an experience. How did you feel about that? Rather than just transactional all the time. But it's tough, it's a challenge. We are regulatory in a way, when it comes to building codes and things like that. But as much as we can, we talk about this as the managers all the time. Do everything we can to get the citizen, the business, where they want to go. I'm not sure what that was. Where
This
the-
thing on the presentation.
where they want to go. But if you ever get to the point, where we can't give them exactly what they want, at least we should do it in a way that they're thankful that we tried everything we could do to get them there, so. And stewardships, we've always operated that way. We're operating with somebody else's money, with taxpayer money, so. You're familiar with our claim awards, and this is something both internally and externally, people regularly ask people, hey, see how we're doing. Show, if you tell us how we're doing. See people out when you interact with people. And then reward our staff when they do a good job. We see them going above and beyond. Anyway, so these are just the main groupings of all the things we do as a city, and you see those there. This is what that survey looks like that I mentioned. So it's just really just a few questions. And tell us how we did. So if you see this around, or you interact with our citizens, this might be a door hanger, it might be an email, it might be a flyer you get. Every meter that we replace, we're asking for feedback. Every time we're out working in front of somebody's house, as they have opportunity, they're hanging a door hanger on there. Every time you have an email interaction, we're asking how we do. So we're slowly continually implementing all of this. It's not really new. I found this, somebody gave this to me a few months ago, 1979 annual report. We were asking, hey, how are we doing? So it's not really new, but we're just trying to bring that up into the modern age. This is our structure that we have. This would be functional. There's not people in each one of these, but you can see at the top there are, our citizens and businesses, and then, City Council, Wooster Community Hospital, and the mayor there, and then everything underneath of that. Green is your finance department. Purple is law. Blue is our WARCOG, Worcester Ashland Regional Council of Governments, and we provide dispatch services. And then everything else in red is under the administration department, public works, economic development, transportation, safety department, and just the major functions underneath there.
Well, if I could go back, I have a question
Sure.
about the survey.
Yeah.
Is that something that is, just out of curiosity, is that attached to all, city of Worcester emails? Like, does it follow, so like if I email a constituent, do they then get a follow-up survey after that?
It depends. So if it's a service that we're interacting with them, then yes. If somebody's just asking a question and we give them the piece of information, maybe not,
Gotcha.
I'm trying to think, one just came through today that Andy P. did.
Yeah,
that
Is a
was
good
me.
example. Somebody called, somebody went him, the pothole, yeah,
It was a
pothole.
sinkhole by Oak
Yep.
Church.
So there was a service, we had to work through that. Andy reached back out, and then right at the bottom, hey, if you don't mind, fill this out and tell us how we did. So, good or bad, we want to know. So that would be an example. So we're working on that, getting that included in all the different processes and interactions. So, yeah. And if you have any suggestions, let us know. We're welcome. Public safety, here's our chiefs. We're fortunate to have a couple long-tenured seasoned professionals in each of these departments. And you can see in the notes section there, but, that total uniform officer, 38 officers and 5 sergeants, been pretty much the same for quite a few years. We do have we're a couple heavy when it comes to captains right now, but that's just because we had some overlap where we promoted one of those, Tony, will be retiring here shortly. So that's just to get some overlap in those two, to the other two retire. And on the fire side, again, 40 firefighters, 3 captains, 1 inspector. We did add a couple of 40-hour a week, basically middle of the day, to cover the peak periods here just this last year. So we'll get to that a little bit. One of the big things that our police do is community outreach, and the one thing I just wanted to highlight is we have a really close relationship with our Wooster City schools. Our chiefs are on Business Advisory Council. They're on safety and security committees for the schools. We have, obviously, school resource officers, two of those right now. We also have, we've been for 13 years, hospital resource officers that are up there as well, out in the community. And we have a community relations officer, Donnie Hall, that goes downtown, stops into the businesses, those kind of things. So here we're getting back to the calls for service that we were talking about a little bit ago. And you can see overall the trend, we had obviously had a low during COVID, everybody stayed in the house, and I guess we're involved in being as unruly as they typically are, but you see that steadily increased, a little bit of a drop off, and I think this is where we get into some of that efficiency. There's some things that our patrol officers worked on, which is minimum performance standards, where they do self-initiate activities, do at least one traffic stop, being more proactive, and I think that's a visible return as you see, as they're just seen out in the, more often, you just see a little bit of a drop, and it's still 43,000, over 43,000, so it's still a lot, but hopefully we'll see this trend continue as years come. The one thing I did want to point out are the Part 1 offenses. Those are the worst. Homicide, rape, robbery, assault. Those are down 32% from last year. That's pretty significant. So that's good news that's happening right now. So just want to point that out. One other thing before we go off of this one that I also wanted to point out, something that we started several years ago, and it developed into, Scott Rotolo really took off with this, and meeting with a group of individuals, stakeholders that are in what we call our high utilizer group. So there's judges, prosecutors, our various agencies like 180 and Anazao and those in community action that all get together for those smaller number of people that tend to have, they are committing crimes, but it's more related to mental health issues and other things like that. How can we reduce that recidivism? It's just not effective for us to keep arresting the same person for minor things, and then they get out again, maybe the same day. And so it really took this group working together, and Scott's really been driving that. And we've seen a really significant drop, a 35% reduction in overall those kinds of calls that we're having. So that really helps. That's been significant. I just want to give him a shout out for that. On the fire side, a couple big things. Obviously, we got a new 100-foot ladder truck. We had a remounted ambulance, and we hired those 2 40-hour-a-week peak hour positions. So I just want to point that out. A couple things for 26. We do have another ambulance to replace our 1 unit, along with some other items, but that's a big one that you'll see coming up. And here we're under the fire side that we touched on a little bit with the service indicators. You can see things jumped up right after COVID, but then we sort of leveled off since then with both fire and EMS. And the big issue there is that from 2000 to now, so 20, 30 years, you've seen an increase in the increase in EMS calls, but a reduction in the fire calls. And I think a lot of that's due to our community risk reduction. And you may not know this, but we do bill for our EMS runs. It's over $1 million a year that we receive from that. And we do have a collection agency that does that. So we have about a 93% collection rate after adjustments and write-offs. So we do a pretty good job there covering those costs. Community risk reduction, that's what I wanted to point out. We've been more intentional, catching up on those. And one of the things we do every time there's a fire, we look at, well, what was the value of that facility, that house, that building? Every time there's a property that has a fire, that total for 2025 was a little over $32 million. The total losses were $167,000. So, you know, and a good bit of those could be attributed to the response and our community risk reduction, making sure, you know, sprinklers and fire systems are up to date, getting there, putting fires out, keeping them from spreading to other areas. So that's a $32 million, you know, value saved by having, you know, a fire department that does all of those things. So I just wanted to point that there is real value associated with that. This is our Public Works Department, city engineer, and Kurt's here with us, Public Properties, and Mike Fritz. Only 5 years with the city, but he's been around for, I think, 30 years in the utility industry. So he's really, I'd put our Public Works guys up against any other Public Works in other cities. So these guys do a great job. Engineering, I just wanted to point out that in 2025, they did 22 major jobs. There's a lot of small jobs, but 22 major ones, estimated almost $14 million worth of construction. You can see the breakdown there of the different types. And if you add up, you look in the notes there, over about $1.25 million in grants that they received to help cover some of this. So the other thing we do is they do performance measurement, and they look at if some communities, all they have is, they might have a city engineer and they manage consultants that are doing their planning and engineering and construction. So we keep track of it. What if we were just hiring this stuff out? You know, what's the value of the engineering services that we're providing? And for this last year, it was just under $2.2 million. So more than pays for itself. So that's good. Plus, there's just that value of ownership of, you know, you're here. So just wanted to point that out. Public properties maintenance. Did want to point out that this is the 50th year of us being Tree City USA, and April 22nd is when that's this week that's happening. So out at Schistler, and we're hosting that for the whole state, which is good. We were, I think, the first of three, or one of three Ohio cities designated as a Tree City USA, and I think we're only one of 16 original ones that have been consistent all for that whole 50 years. So plant a lot of trees overall. I will say, you see, there was down to 110 last year, and I heard Kurt give the goal of 250 for 2026. So I'm interested to see if we can keep that up, keep that going. So just want to point that out. Here gets a little bit to Mr. Paul's question. He's talking about the costs and why, you know, we're able to keep those down. So here's something we keep track of. We keep track of our pavement condition rating every year. That's on a scale of 0 to 100. If you're less than 65, that means you probably need to do a little bit of work, and we were there, you know, 12 years ago, which was right after the recession, and we passed that income tax in 13. And so we started, so there were several years we didn't do much paving. That's how we saved money. But we've been working pretty consistently that, and two things. You see two results of the work our guys have done. Number one, PCR ratings at 84%, which is really good. And yet potholes still going down pretty significantly. So you're having less potholes because the roads are in better shape. So those are both indicators. And that's actually in 5 years, that's like a 79% reduction in potholes, which is great. And a 33% increase in the last 10 years in our PCR rate. So those are all very good indicators of how we're keeping up with our roads. Water production. You heard Andre talk about how our revenues are up when it comes to water, and you'll see a little bit here why, because overall, you see a pretty significant increase in our annual water produced. A lot of that has to do with a couple of big industries, you know, Daisy being one, Gojo Industries and several others. High users that continue to use more water, so that's a good thing. And one of the major projects, you've heard a little bit of it, we've done pieces of it, we hope to finish it up in 26. That's that high rate study out at the water plant. And if they're able to basically just basically testing the plant at a higher rate, maybe tweaking a couple pumps, adding a couple pumps here. If we're able to do that, we're basically gonna save anywhere from $5 to $10 million. You basically have to double certain parts of the plant if you just did it that way. But if we can show we can run it through and maintain we're gonna save millions of dollars, but, you know, go from a $6 million plant to an $8 million gallon per day plant. So that's really good. Attribute that to Mike. Fred's doing a lot of that work. So you can see some of the statistics behind that, below that, doing a lot of work on our wells, and you'll see that continue. Should have a well go in here in 26, go into service, and another one we're planning on, using mostly PFAS money to pay for those, so that's good. Wastewater, you see a drop in what was coming in, but it's been going up a little bit here, mostly due to industrial usage here. You see that big gray structure, that's a headworks. You know, several pieces of legislation came through council on that in the last year, so that's really redoing that piece at the head of the plant with major screens. Every bit of flow in the city goes through that main headwork structure there. And that big tank you see empty there is one of our digesters that's being hopefully finished up here this year as well. That's what we're hoping to finish this year. So meters and distribution. So you see here, we have to replace a certain number of meters every year to keep up with them. They're good for about 15 years. So we have to replace about 800 or so every year, meters and MTUs, in order to keep up with that. So that's what you see here, looking at meters, new, installed, repair and replace. Things like valves and hydrants we're required by EPA to exercise those, so you see those over the years there. And one thing that you'll probably see a pretty significant increase as we look into 26, you passed some legislation on additional sewer televising and root treating and lining. So, and that's because of the work we had been doing. We had a couple incidents that we really need to up that, and especially some of the main, some of our main sewers. So that's what this is showing here. I left Phil 5 minutes.
That's all right, I can do a lot in a couple minutes. So, recreation, real quick, Michelle Horst, 17 years with the city, took over as the rec manager last year. She operates with a staff of 1 supervisor, 3 coordinators, 1 part-time maintenance person, that says 2 in the notes, but it's only 1, and our YMCA runs our pools. As you can see, I want to go over this stat a little, these graphs a little bit. Obviously, you can see that if you look at 2025, it looks like numbers are down, but actually that can be attributed to the Christmas Run pool being closed. Our participation, recreation participation and volunteer numbers are up. Had Christmas Run pool been open, this would have been the highest year for any rec involvement, which is a awesome thing. So our services to those are increasing. Also, want to note that construction started in spring of 2026 on the new pool. Completion date is expected to be before Memorial Day of 2026. And on a side note, we found out that you will now have to have a passport to get into the new pool, because when you go in there, you're European. Anyone? No? No? Okay, all right. Swing and a miss, we'll try it again here in a little bit later. Economic Community Development, Joe Bodnar's been with us for 1.5 years, Vince Marion 5 years, Jonathan 12, Kevin with Transportation for 2. Building standards, you can see that our, saw a little bit of dip in single-family housing units that were built, still above our about 6-year average of 20. We had 671 property maintenance violation inspections in 2025. That is up from 2024. What do we get into? Next page. Value construction permits. You can see there is a rather large dip from 24 to 25. This could be attributed to $75 million worth of construction permits in 2024 were for 2 very large projects, being the hospital expansion and the jail projects. And you can see that it's about at every year, 2-year wave that you see you have some major projects, and then it goes back to normal. On the right there, you can see the top 10 construction projects by value. You all can read, so I'm not gonna go over that. Planning and zoning, you can see our applications. I compared it to 24 to 25 to see we're typically right on average. On the right, you can see major development projects that went through. You all can read, I'll leave that to be. One note I did want to hit here, we've all heard about the zoning code amendments. Thank you, council, for considering that. That was a big initiative from the planning department through all of 2025, even though you passed it in 2026. It went through the steering committee and planning commission in 2025, and then was brought forth for your consideration. But on the left, you'll see a graph of our downtown grant program. This is a grant program that is offered to our downtown businesses. It's capped at $5,000 or 33% of the construction cost. We have put in just a hair over $75,000 since its inception, and it has returned non-city funds of almost $850,000 worth of investment in our downtown. So this is a program that is paying large dividends for us. Economic development, obviously the big initiatives this year were the Graham Farm annexation, again, officially this year, but most of last year was the planning. This will, and I'm skipping pages. This will bring in this has brought in 246 acres to potentially address some of our future housing needs. And again, we rank in the top 10 in the nation for top micropolitans. Another thing I want to really hit on, I think Jonathan doesn't get enough credit for this, but our CHIP funding, CHIP stands for the Community Housing Impact and Preservation. We run it for the county. We run it in conjunction with them and with the Wayne Metropolitan Housing. 28 homes, 2 apartments were preserved countywide. 12 of those, and both apartments were within city limits. Equates to $438,000, almost $439,000. It's a huge deal. This is saving housing that we can before it becomes to a point where it needs to be potentially demolished or removed from the sector. So this is a great project that he does, and yet again for 2026 we were awarded an additional $1,050,000, so that's fantastic. Can't say enough about it. In transportation, you all know Wago launched August 4th of 2025. Whoa, sorry, that was the first iteration. That is called Wagon. One of the original ideas that did not make it past the vetting phases. Sorry about that. But you can see some of our numbers there on Wago. We are servicing since August 12,500 passengers on the fixed route, 8,000 passengers on the micro transit. Top stops are Walmart, Library, Drug Mart, Marks, and Bueller's Milltown. Peak services between 1 and 4, and one note that I want to make special is that in 2026, we took it to the Transit Advisory Committee. Actually, Kevin White took it to the Transit Advisory Committee to change the hours of the micro transit we were averaging a half rider. I don't know which half, top or bottom, but the half rider at that 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock hour wasn't really returning anything for us, and we had such a demand for people getting to work at that 7 o'clock hour. We have adjusted the rate thanks to ODOT for allowing us to do that. So now that the microtransit's on a different schedule than the fixed route still runs normal time. Microtransit starts an hour earlier, and we are seeing that 6 o'clock hour be utilized for people going to work. And obviously in the pie chart, you can see what the demand response trips are. Work is a huge thing. Medical and work is 2 things people need most. So with that, I'll kick it back to Joel if you want to talk about the workforce at all, but thank you all.
Just 2 things I'll point out here. One, we have very little turnover. We've seen very little as far as increase in total employees. We had 212 at the end. 12/31/25, we had 212 employees in the city. I should say FTE, so that includes factoring in part-time and seasonal people. One thing that was interesting, we went back, if you look in your notes there, 23, 24, 25, you've seen the number of applicants per job that we've had when we've opened has steadily gone up, which is interesting considering that the unemployment rate has gone down. So I can't tell you why that is, but it's just interesting that that's gone up each year. And then last, we just want to give kudos to Landry. She's one that put all of Phil and I's scribbles together and made this look nice and came up with formatting and what would and also the content, what we thought would be good, you know, to share. And she's been doing a ton behind the scenes when it comes to postings and all of our social media and getting more, and we just want to get more information out from that transparency perspective. And she's been doing that. You can see about every metric you measure, things are up as far as engagement with the community, so.
Most of the articles you see that go out in the paper are press releases written by Landry. We ran into a real issue of getting coverage through the Worcester Weekly and the Daily Record. The increase uptick is directly related to Landry and her press release writing, so.
So sorry, went over a couple of minutes. All of that will be on the website along with all the real details. If you want to dive into it on our website. Thank you very much.
Any additional questions or comments?
Yeah, I had just kind of like a top-level question/comment. So Joel, you kind of mentioned on it before about the income tax when we passed that in 2013, 2014. That's when we decided to do the $4 million transfer to capital improvement every year. Now, you just showed us a bunch of evidence, you know, the city's growing, we're adding roads. At what point or what needs to happen to start maybe taking that contribution up, even to just match inflation?
Yeah. So that's one of the metrics, and Andre can speak to this better than I can. You know, we look at inflation, obviously that drives what it costs to do a mile of road or whatever. But we also look at our depreciation, you know, on all those assets, and we want to make sure, in order to keep up, you want to be beyond that depreciation amount, so you're replacing it as it wears out. And I think that one initial graph I showed you, that it shows that we continue on the upward trend of replacing, it's not wearing out, we're doing well. So that's the kind of data we're looking at. So I guess the answer to your question is, if that line started going down as we're tracking, you know, the values of our assets, and their age and depreciation, if that line started going down, we need to do something to catch up. So we're staying ahead of that right now. So I don't know that we can do more roads without making anybody really mad right now. We got so many shut down, so there's also that too. We want to keep in that.
Sure. Yeah, I just, you know, seeing that amount for the last 12 years or so, it would make sense in my head that it would.
Well, we've gone way beyond the 4 million.
And get ahead of some of that stuff.
I think I said we did 13.8 million in last year.
Yeah, and keep in mind, we leverage that with grants, which is
Yeah.
really nice. So, you know, sometimes we take that 4 million and, you know, get 50% more, we get 2 more million. I think there's gonna be some good things to come with respect to that in the future as well. So with some of these projects, it's like major 50% leverage and maybe more.
Okay, anyone else? All right, then I see 7:07, and this will conclude the Finance Committee meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll take a few minutes here and we'll convene the council meeting here at 10 after.
Each one of them like $200. Does that include overhead? I mean, is that where actually?
That's I think every expenditure we have. So yeah,
It's even higher than that, because I think we use what's called gap numbers, so that includes depreciation of building and stuff like that. So that's, it's like all in, I guess.
Well, so I guess,
Thanks.
in other words, if our number of calls fell by 50%, our cost per trip would double.
Yes.
library, daytime, like.
There's plenty of outdoor outlets down at the church now.
Theme song.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
As long as somebody's not charging the phone.
We've got all the time.
So you're bonding.
All right, good evening. It's after 7 PM. And this is the regularly scheduled meeting of Wooster City Council held this Monday, April 20th, 2026. Tonight's meeting is clearly here in council chambers, and we're also live streamed on YouTube. And our next regularly scheduled meeting will be Monday, May 4th of 2026. Ms. Hamilton, you please call the roll of the pending council members?
Mr. Abernathy.
Here.
Mr. Gaffey.
Here.
Mr. Huzay.
Here.
Mr. Malta.
Here.
Mr. Owens.
Here.
Mr. Paul.
Here.
Ms. Warden.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum and our agenda will remain as presented. At this time, I'll ask you to stand and join the members of City Council in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Motion, or if I can have a motion to approve our minutes from our last meeting on April 6th.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Communications from the mayor. Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, Mr. President, council members. First of all, I want to thank Joel and Andre for putting together that presentation with Phil's assistance. That was very informative, but also don't want to just talk about that, but want to recognize council's involvement in making all that happen. It's a partnership. The administration proposes, council disposes. So, that doesn't happen without council's support. The other thing that, particularly on the financial side, and we've talked about this a number of times, is that when the occasion warrants and we can get things approved rapidly to get them out to bid, we save money there. We are consistently under budget on our bidding projects. So again, council's been very cooperative in that, and we appreciate that, and it saved the taxpayers money. So, just a quick rundown of what has happened in the last 2 weeks. On April 7th, we had a meeting, Phil, Joel, and I, with a group from OSU College of Veterinary Medicine. They're trying to drum up support for additional vet students. Like everything else we're seeing in professional ranks, they're seeing a shortage of that and are concerned about it. So Phil really took the lead on that and getting them connected with some local organizations. We kind of explained that as far as Wayne County was concerned, probably the city of Worcester was maybe not the first place to start as far as having residents that were, in need of particularly large animal veterinary services. But I think we were able to help them out and make some introductions for them. On the 8th, the Friends of Worcester Memorial Park held their annual meeting out at the Chalet. I was able to stop in for at least the first part of that meeting. I think I mentioned this in an email I sent out, but if you're not familiar with this group, they are vitally important to that facility. If they didn't exist, we'd be really challenged as a city to take care of all the maintenance that goes on out there. So it's only that volunteer effort that really makes that the place it is. And so a lot of thanks for that group for doing it. And thanks for, Joe Vila and Kurt Denning are very involved with what goes on out there. And so thanks to them for their time in coordinating those efforts. On the 9th, had our monthly lunch meeting with Gabe Tudor, superintendent of Wooster City Schools. If you're following developments there, the current plan is now to move out of Cornerstone at the end of the next school year, not this 2025-2026 school year, but the 2026-2027 school year, which, again, we've been through this a little bit. I think for those who've been on council for a while, we talked about the ramifications of that. The plan then is to, again, this is not written in stone, but the current plan that the board has adopted is to replace those classroom spaces with modulars with the location of those to be determined. I've heard different proposals. One is to put all the modulars up at the high school. Another is to spread them out among the existing elementary schools. But apparently the number of modulars it's gonna take is gonna be somewhere between 30 and 35. So I guess we'll have to keep tabs on that, but the board has pretty well made it clear that their intent is to be out of Cornerstone May of next year. So I think we've got about 13 months before that'll come into play. And then the 10th, I sit on the BAC Finance Committee for the schools. We had a meeting that morning to review their audit and also talk a little bit about their strategic plans. That afternoon, on the 10th, Joel and I were able to attend a habitat groundbreaking on West Liberty Street. There was a community garden at the spot before that's now, if you drive by there, the foundation is in. Again, give me a nice home for somebody that has worked hard to get their sweat equity in to do that. And again, whenever we're seeing new construction in old neighborhoods, it's always something I'm happy about. On the 14th, had the first of 3 focus group meetings run by Main Street. Main Street's in the process of updating their strategic plan. And one of the things they're doing, I don't know if they're calling them, but I'm basically calling them focus groups. They're having different groups of members in for a discussion about their priorities, their concerns. And on the 14th, we did one with the local retailers. We had about a dozen people in the room for that. Joel and I were in attendance there. This morning, they had the second one, which was the service or hospitality, I suppose they call it, which was more of the restaurants, hotels, and Phil and I and Jonathan were at that one. I think they're getting some good feedback. It's interesting to see where the concerns are. It's interesting also to have the different perspectives there because, as you might imagine, the retailers, and I'll just give you the basic thing on parking, the retailers, they like to see turnover. They want to see, they wouldn't be upset if we had half-hour parking downtown everywhere. The restaurants, they would like us probably at least an hour and a half, if not 2 hours. So it's trying to, something we've been, the city's done for a long time is trying to balance those needs, and not that what we have now is perfect, and I think we certainly indicated a willingness to take a look at it again. If it needs altered a little bit, happy to do that, but again, it is a matter of balancing interest between different stakeholders downtown. We also, on the 15th, then we had a development meeting for the former Larwell Trailer Park. We do think plans for that are moving forward, and hopefully, that's been a long, 10-year project, or a long time ago that started with, it was a real mess in terms of both a challenge for the city because we had a water system that wasn't functioning and wasn't containing water, so we took a big hit financially for the amount of water we lost at the site. We had people that were living there that really in terrible conditions, and we got through that, cleaned up the site, and now we're kind of getting on the back end of it to be able to develop that for some affordable housing. So hopefully that's going to be something that happens in 2026. The 16th was a WDC annual meeting. They did a nice job with that. Later that afternoon, Mary Kate Hastings from Senator Houston's office was in. We had a nice discussion with her and updated her on some projects. On the 17th, we had a meeting, that was last Friday, with Scott Boys and Ray McDonald from Wooster Community Hospital. We always have a lot of things always going on with the hospital, but 2 in particular is we had a discussion, Kevin White was there for that, talked about Wago and ways that we can kind of take some of our excess capacity and share that with them a little bit to defray their costs, and to some extent they can help support us financially. And every time we get a different user to add on there because of the matching funds arrangement, we double our money. So we're looking for some opportunities there that really helps both sides of that. And the other thing we talked about is the Bell Avenue corridor redevelopment. We're moving forward with that, and Joel's got on the table the preliminary drawing, I think is best, but that gives you a general idea of what that would look like. And Joel can say more on that later if he wants to. And then this morning, I got to participate at ISU School with Right to Read Week. Spent an hour reading there, and that's always a really rewarding opportunity. I think it's the 3rd year in a row I've had a chance to participate in that. Just a few things looking ahead. As Joel mentioned, on the 22nd, which is Wednesday, we have the Tree City USA celebration, which was really an all-day event out at Schisler. And I know Joe and Kurt and others have put a lot of work into organizing that. if you have a chance to get out for any part of that, I would encourage you to do so. On the 23rd, Joel and I are meeting with Samira from the chamber. We have a couple joint issues that we want to discuss. We think we're opportunities, we can partner on some things. More about that later. On the 23rd, then there's the Children's Services Annual Luncheon. They always honor an officer, the Law Enforcement Officer of the Year. And this year, we have 3 Worcester Police Department officers that have been nominated for that award. Sergeant Guy Bremenauer, Detective Stacy Chewy, and SRO April Teachmer. So look forward to that, and hopefully one of our officers will come away with that distinction. A week from today, Joe and I are meeting with the board chair from the College of Worcester to find out what they've got going. I know they've got some capital projects that kind of impact the city, and they've been great about keeping us in the loop, so interested to see that. That evening, there's the grand opening at the Historical Society of the display. It's really a full room for the Wayne County Sports Hall of Fame. I've been through that twice now, kind of off hours, and it is very interesting. If you've got, particularly I guess if you've grown up in Wayne County and have some sense of the history of Wayne County sports, very interesting display and very well worth your time. Then we have our last, next Tuesday, the last Main Street Focus Group. That one's professional services, so plan on being on that. And on the 30th, I think it's Thursday, I'll be giving my final State of the City address. It seems like it's forever because it was like, 2 months ago that I think I did the first, but we'll be doing that for the Lions Club. And then on the 1st, Tony Lemon is having his retirement open house. And then finally, that same day is the Exchange Club fireworks dinner. And, I would encourage anybody to support that if you can. It's a nice event. It helps underwrite our fireworks costs. Gilding does a ton of work for that event and for the fireworks in general, and any support we can give them is appreciated. Joel?
Sure, real quick, thanks, Bob. Bob had mentioned some of these focus groups at Main Street. In addition to that, and I think sort of alongside of that, Main Street is wrapping up a strategic planning effort that they've been doing as a board, and I've been involved in that with the board. And just a couple of things that came out, a lot of that was survey feedback from the community from downtown. But I thought you'd be interested in a couple, like the 4 main things that they came back with as their strategic framework, things that were important. Obviously, the city is very tied to them. They're a partner with us. They do a lot of things with the city. Number 1 was events and downtown experiences, which I think we would all agree, they bring people downtown. Number 2 is business vitality and economic development, and we work with them a lot. Jonathan works with them a lot when it comes to the economic development piece and what services and resources we can help provide to businesses and new businesses. But one that was interesting was the downtown character and experience. And in this one, a lot of that is things that the city actually does. So they recognize through all of this that they need that partnership with the city, and we work together to help these things happen. But when you're looking at what the downtown looks like, with the flowers, with the streetscape, that was something. And there were people, in the meeting that had been there for 40 years. They were there before the first streetscape happened back in the 90s, and are still there today, and shared how beneficial they thought that was as far as, making the downtown look nice, making it a place people wanted to stay for businesses, and people wanted to come and locate there. So that was nice to hear that. Obviously, you'll be seeing something you have on council in regards to streetscape, but that is something that the businesses mentioned that is important to them. It's something they value down there. So I just wanted to share that with you. A couple of other things from the update we sent back on Friday. I reiterated, I sent some stuff from OML on the property tax, and then one additional thing came out since then, so I added that to this update. Where there is a group out there that's looking to advocate against the potential ballot initiative that's out there. What we have heard, I verified this with the county auditor today, that on Thursday, the group that's looking to put the ballot initiative on is supposed to be making an announcement of where they're at. How many have they got their 417,000 signatures to get on the November ballot or not? So we should know this week whether it's going to be this year or potentially next year, but I think it's coming one way or the other. It will be on the ballot. So just wanted to share that with you. Obviously, that affects counties and townships a lot more than us, but it's still an impact to the whole community. The other thing I gave you an update on, we've been talking about this for quite a while now, is the Burbank-Winkler-Ullman roundabout. And, you know, final offers went out, and in that update, I shared that at that time, there were 6 out of, I forget how many, there's like 14 or 15 property owners, all, you know, touches each length of the road there. That will be down to 4 out of all of those. So I mentioned 92% of right-of-way, or we've already signed, it'll be a little bit higher than that, here probably by the end of the week or so. So I just want to let you know where that was at, and, you know, we sent those final offers, so we're just waiting to hear back. So we'll try one more time. We'll probably be coming to council at some point, at least whether it's, you know, with legislation or whether it's just to give you a final time frame before the summer break. So we'll be coming back to you here within the next month and a half. A little more on that. So I just wanted to share that, bring that to your attention. Bob already mentioned Tony's retirement, so the other thing is conforming the boundaries, you know, for the Grand Farm annexation. It's something we've been doing with every annexation. It just always follows, so that's kind of something that the county auditor has asked us to do, so they're not dealing with 2 different taxing districts and things like that. So, and then Kevin White has just done a great job, and you've seen a significant increase in our transportation, fixed route, and in the 8% increase in the demand response, 12.5 in the fixed route. So that continues to go up, and we're talking with several entities about contracts to continue to make that dollar go further that Bob had mentioned. So that everything's going in the right direction there. It's looking good. It's been a real benefit to our city. That's all I have. Thanks.
Just a quick agenda review. Just 2 items of business tonight, both on first reading. Both require either 3 readings or a suspension of the rules. In just concluding notes, again, that property tax issue that Joel sent out is a big deal. That's one of the things we'll be talking to Samir in the chamber about. And we can't say, whether it's the administration or council, that because it doesn't impact us that much, that it's not going to have consequences, because there'll be a ripple effect if that should take place between the other forms of government, where we'll be asked to pick up some of the services that they've not. So the immediate direct consequences are relatively minor, and I say relatively in comparison to the townships, the schools, the county, the libraries. But the indirect effects will be very, very impactful in a negative way. So that's one of the things we're going to talk about. The other thing I know that when the Cornerstone situation first came up, I think about 2 years ago, we did an executive session then and kind of briefed all the council on that and brought things up to speed. And then they kind of redirected and kind of pushed that back a little bit. And I know we've got 2 new council members since that discussion. So first of all, if any of you ever want to talk about any issue, feel free. But either next meeting or the meeting after, we'll probably do for an executive session to talk about some property matters. And we'll bring everybody up to date. From our standpoint, for the council members that have been here, really nothing's changed. It's just we're 2 years down the road. But it does seem now we have a more definitive timeline. So we'll at least refresh your memories as to what we talked about 2 years ago. And for Tyler and Drew, we'll bring you up to speed on what the fallout is of that decision on behalf of the Wooster City School District. So with that, Mr. President, thank you for the time.
All right, thank you. We had no petitions or communications from the public.
Yes.
We have no public hearings, but we do have a committee report. If you want to indulge us there, Mr. Abernathy?
We'll keep her brief. Mr. Dordia, thank you for giving us the first quarter financial update on the city. It was incredibly, I would put it, nothing too exciting, which is good for city financials. Pretty well dead on budget, so well done there. And we did get a rundown of everything operationally, and everything seems to be pretty well in line historically. So again, nothing too extraordinary and popping out. So everything seems to be in proper working order. And that's really all I have to report. So thank goodness, City of Worcester is still running very well fiscally and operationally.
All right, very good, thank you very much. We have no unfinished business, so we will move right into new business. Our first item is Resolution 2026-26. Ms. Warden will be presenting that for us, but before that, Ms. Hamilton, if you'll please read it for us.
Resolution number 2026-26, a resolution petitioning the Board of County Commissioners of Wayne County, Ohio, for a change of township lines to conform with the corporation limits of the City of Worcester and allowing for immediate enactment.
Ms. Warden, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So this resolution formally requests that the Wayne County Commissioners conform the boundaries of the recently annexed Graham Farm site along Silver Road. Currently, the area exists in both the city and surrounding townships, creating confusion for the residents who pay taxes in multiple entities and also vote in multiple jurisdictions without receiving township services. Conforming the boundaries will simplify that structure and adjust millage rates to 4.2 mills, resulting in an overall property tax reduction of about 7.9% for Worcester Township properties and 3.7% for Wayne Township properties. The action also supports long-term financial stability for the city while maintaining a transition plan to compensate the affected townships. In order for the city to meet notification deadlines, I'm going to motion that we place this on a third and final reading this evening.
Second.
All right, so we have a first, we have a second to suspend the rules. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll on the suspension of the rules.
Ms. Warden,
Yes.
Mr. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Huzay,
Yes.
Mr. Abernathy,
Yes.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mr. Malta,
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey.
Yes.
Ms. Warden?
Thank you. Unless there's anything else that Mr. Malay wants to add, I think, sorry, I maybe should have said that in advance, but he's here.
He loves the weather.
I think I covered the bases.
Yes, yes, you did. And while you did a wonderful job putting this together, I'm realizing when we talk about notification deadline, I hit a math error on my part. So if we would like, I don't know if it's too late to table, we could do that, or we could bring this back to you, but there is an issue with the notification deadline. And that is my fault, and I apologize for that.
Meaning, even if we pass this evening, it will not meet the deadline.
I will have to reissue a notice.
Okay.
So, but that being said, if we table, we can keep things as it is. If not, we can just bring it back the next time we get together. And I sincerely apologize for that.
Jonathan. I say we just table it at this point. Is that acceptable after already voting to put it on third and final reading?
Do we have to back up the motion to,
I think all it does is just moves it to third and final reading. I think we can still vote to table it.
Yeah.
okay.
Like procedurally, you're fine to go ahead and table, and that just leaves it, as Jonathan said, exactly as it is right now. And then when you come back to the next meeting, you can untable it and
All right.
proceed.
Perfect.
Thank you for
So
your
we have a
patience.
motion-
No worries.
So we have a motion to table. Is
Table.
there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of signifying, or the tabling signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, we gotta do a voice vote, so Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll on that.
Ms. Warden,
Yes.
Mr. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Huzay,
Yes.
Mr. Abernathy.
Yes.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mr. Malta,
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey.
Yes.
All right, so it's tabled, and we'll see where that goes in the next future meeting. Our next item is Resolution 2026-27, and if I'm not mistaken, this is also another one that the pants are on fire, that we gotta approve it tonight because of whatever reasons. Okay, with that, Ms. Hamilton, please read it for us.
Resolution number 2026-27, a resolution to adopt and allocate funds for an outdoor fitness court as part of the 2026 National Fitness Campaign and allowing for immediate enactment.
Ms. Warden, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm going to introduce the legislation, then I'm going to turn this over to Phil Tursky. He's got a lot more detail that he can share, as well as, I think, a video to accompany that. So, yes, this resolution authorizes the city to accept a $35,000 grant through the National Fitness Campaign's 2026 Healthy Cities campaign to support the installation of a public fitness court and studio. The project represents a total investment of $235,000, with the city then providing an additional $200,000 match that was already included in council's prior approval of the Arts District streetscape improvements. The fitness court will be located at the site of the former Wayne County Health Department building, which will be demolished using county land bank funding and then leased to the city for recreational use, similar to our arrangement at the Kinney Fields for the soccer fields that we have there. This project is designed to provide free, high-quality fitness access for all residents while complementing the ongoing streetscape work and the Wayne Center for the Arts development of the Arts Park. This will help strengthen that area as a community destination. It's also worth noting that the National Fitness Campaign is the sole provider of the integrated system, and that's why we have a bit of a rush on Passion, so we can meet their grant deadline and secure funding. So I'll turn it over to Phil, if you don't mind.
Yeah, we'll start with the video, just to kind of, they encourage us to play this at the council meeting.
We're changing the way America thinks about fitness. From municipal parks and trails to college campuses to high schools nationwide, we're bringing free fitness everywhere, and we're just getting started. Hi, I'm Mitch Managin, founder of the National Fitness Campaign. National Fitness Campaign was founded in 1979 when we opened the first fitness court. Redesigned for the 21st century, the fitness court is the world's best outdoor gym. Our 7-movement, 7-minute system allows you to use your own body weight to get the perfect workout. Easy or hard, it will work for you. Our goal is to build healthy communities by making outdoor fitness an essential part of people's lives, so that each day is better than the last. Now more than ever before, it is vital that we move fitness outdoors to remain safe, healthy, and strong.
Michiganders, as soon as we can, we go outside, which is one of the reasons why the fitness court was such an attraction to us. What impressed us most was their basic philosophy that they want to provide world-class fitness for free. Truly, anyone can use it, no matter what your age is, no matter what your physical fitness level is, no matter what your skills are. It is very adaptable.
This fitness court is one of the best things that Santa Central has ever done.
Thousands of certified ambassadors will be trained to deliver classes, challenges, and clinics as part of our National Fitness Campaign. New programs are bringing students outdoors across America. The Fitness Court mobile app is your gateway to enroll in these programs. Simply scan the new digital wall with your phone to access a library of free workouts designed to optimize your experience on the fitness court. Learn the moves and take challenges as we dig deep to create impact for our partners across America. This year, we are thrilled to introduce the Fitness Court Studio, the ultimate community wellness hub, uniting the power of yoga, Zumba, bodyweight fitness, and the arts. Fitness Court Public Art continues to grow and inspire across the country as local artists collaborate to bring beautiful, one-of-a-kind murals to life on fitness courts and fitness court studios. We're proud to have helped cities of all sizes raise millions of dollars from respected sponsors to support free fitness. Wherever fitness is a priority, you can find a fitness court. We're partnering with large cities using urban movement data to map the best locations for healthy infrastructure. We're bringing fitness courts to within 10 minutes of population centers everywhere.
They provide these wraparound services that, from a city's perspective, that's what you want in a partner like this. You want it to come presented to you on a silver platter with a bow tied around. They're one of the best partners, I think, that I personally have ever worked with.
We serve almost 1.2 million members across Michigan. And this partnership really is an opportunity for us to bring scalable, free health and wellness opportunities to our community. So I would actually invite cities and organizations, big and small, to explore the opportunity to invest in fitness courts. To be very honest with you, the feedback from different municipalities and different communities has been very positive.
we are committed to raise over $1 billion to bring the campaign to 5,000 cities and schools, building the largest outdoor fitness movement in the world. Join us. Let's make world-class fitness free.
So the reason they ask us to share that is it kind of encompasses the founders' and vision of what this is meant to be, and this is meant to be fitness for all. One of the key aspects of this is it has to be open to everyone. This is something that Ashley Hirschberger and I actually were looking at about 2 years ago to bring more people to Shellen Park. That was the original idea of where we needed to be. In working with the campaign, they do a mapping exercises where they do a fit score, and it's based on your it's based on how much foot traffic, bike traffic, and non-motorized traffic are in that area. Shellen Park was not a good option. We kind of tabled it. The commissioners have had the health department building vacant for 2 years now. We were at a meeting and said, hey, what are you guys doing with that? You guys gonna, what's the plan? And one of them said, give us an idea and we'll consider it. And I slipped this across, shot in a wing and a prayer, and yeah, it kind of took off from there. We applied, got the funding pretty quickly, and the program is very, the short turnaround. We just found out about this, I think it was the Friday before the last council meeting, and they want it approved by April 22nd to show that we are going to accept the money in order to continue with the grant process. And it aligns perfectly with the status of the project because and I think I can switch over to is this gonna rotate and mess it up? It gives us time to get through the planning process and because there is an art aspect to this. And when we talk about the fit of the fitness court and studio, active lifestyles, a big plus that they saw in the application is this is right next to local routes, this is right next to Ride On. It's that healthy mindset, it's that active people, it's the walkability, and putting it beside the new arts, putting it in the arts district. It's going to be one of the main entrance points that feeds into what Wayne Center for the Arts is doing. It's got that art aspect on the back end that we have the option to engage with a local artist to design a mural that'll go on the front and the back that'll really show Wooster what Wooster is. It checked all the boxes for them. That's why they gave us 35. Typically they give 25. They said, we'll give you 35. Okay, cool. You just got to meet these guidelines, and one of them is to get it passed, have council accept the grant by the 22nd. So that's the need for urgency. But also on this design, obviously the studio and the fitness court aren't going to occupy the full site. So John Rice put together a preliminary design to show that it's 36 by 72 feet. Which will occupy pretty much the site of the building itself, but it does leave flexibility on flexibility on what could be there. So parking is always a consideration for the county. So we kind of left it as this flex zone in the preliminary food truck court. We're not set on any of that. That's going to be discussion that we're going to have with the county of what could go there, should go there. But we wanted to show it's going to be some flexible, it's what I call them, it's got to be the mullet of flexible space. You got to have business during the day, but then you can have something at night, I coined that phrase, the mullet of flexibility. So any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
I'd just say that was a little bit better than the pool joke earlier.
Hey, you swing and you miss, not everyone hits.
Mr. Tursky, this is a cool project. I do like this idea and the concept. So the parcel then, is the county retaining that, or like what's the ownership look like on this?
They will continue to own it. We will we'll be responsible for the construction of the fitness court, and then we will lease the property for them like we do with the Kinney soccer fields.
Okay.
Why?
Counties,
That property is located dead center of Wooster City. Why aren't we buying this property? Why do we allow them to continue to hold us hostage like they do on the soccer fields?
I would say as a practical matter, we're not positioned where we can impose our will upon them. The county is hesitant to give up property, as maybe I would be in their shoes.
Worcester City taxpayers are funding county programs with this, where they could be funding their own. Philosophically, I love this project. Don't get me wrong, Phil, and it's the right thing to do. But philosophically, this continuing to pour Worcester City taxpayer money down the drain to the county is just not acceptable going forward. Not for me. So,
Would that extend to Kinney Field as well?
you know, I'll take a look at that when it comes to us. So I just, I look at the difficulties we've had. If we owned the soccer fields, we wouldn't have had the difficulty in legislating the peanut. And when we allow other municipalities to come in and have jurisdiction over land that's located in the middle of Worcester, I have an issue with that.
Well, it's also in the middle of the county, and they control the county, so we don't have exclusive governmental rights to.
I'm aware of the geography. You will not get any opposition from me on this, Jen. I'm just philosophically against that process.
It's something that a lot of people feel strongly about. And in certain aspects I do, especially when it comes to the residential pockets that still exist in the city limits. I think that's just
Have we
insane, but.
Have we pre-negotiated the lease?
we haven't had those conversations yet. What our conversations to the commissioners have been like what we do with the Kinney Fields.
So we could, again, I'm not gonna go quite as far as my colleague, but again, we could potentially be putting the cart in front of the horse. We're essentially hoping that the commissioners are gonna be good partners in this and not take advantage of the situation.
I mean, they're gonna be using land bank funding to demolish the building. This grant is like us accepting the grant is not obligating us to the program. So I mean, had it not been for this program, that building would still be standing there next year. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
And I'll just say the commissioners have been, at least in my time here, been great partners for us, great partners on this. Again, I know from other projects that they are very hesitant to divest themselves of any property, which I think is their prerogative. But, and they had, on the Kinney Fields situation with the peanut, they were very accommodating. There was no delay involved in that discussion. They were.
It's not about delay, it's about control.
As a point of clarity, how much do we pay to lease the Kinney Fields, just to kind of get an?
Nothing.
No.
Nothing.
We just pay the full operational cost of maintenance, everything else, we've built the stand that's there, concession stand, I mean, we've done all that work, I mean, all the paving and parking lot, we've done all that and donated that to the county, so virtually, I mean, it's our project, I mean, Parks and Rec runs the full maintenance on all the fields and whatnot out there, mowing, fertilizing, replacement, patching, so it's basically like it's our ground, it's just that it's not cost, I mean.
Yeah, and we don't, and it's pretty much, we do what, as we see fit up there. So the concession stands, bathrooms, and parking lot were to support our programs that we would not be able to do without that. There's no property that big, that we would be able to do without that. So in that case, they've been a great partner there. They did donate all of the right-of-way for the peanut as well, to put back into the project. They saw the benefit of that.
Just curious, I would be curious, I get that we do all the maintenance and stuff like that, but on like something like this, or even Kinney Field, I'm curious what kind of, maybe protection for the city is in place, like if the commissioners ever decide like, hey, we wanna do something with that property, what kind of process would that be if they decided they wanted to utilize that property that sits in the middle of Worcester, when we've been pouring all the maintenance costs and things like that into it. Yeah, just curious on that.
I'd be happy to go look. I don't know off the top of my head what the terms of the agreement for Kenny Fields is. You know, they're the ones that proposed that. Why don't we do something
Sure.
like that? So I'd have to go look at that and see.
There's a lease agreement that, you know, I recently had just looked at with the concession stand and had to pull up, from the county, and I guess I'll say that I wrote the lease agreement as the civil prosecutor for the Wayne County Board of Commissioners in 2018, and I reviewed and wrote the lease over here with the concession stand, you know, now was, you know, with the city, and I think city and the county have always had a good partnership, and so, yeah, from a legal standpoint, the protections are there. It is their land, you know, as owners, but there's a lease that would protect the city and notice and timeframes to exit.
This one could be a little bit different because we're actually constructing something though.
Sure.
Whereas this, you know, the soccer fields, you can move, you know, goals. You know, we're mowing there.
Well, yeah, but not the.
I mean, there's a concession stand,
The
and a
concession,
parking lot,
right.
and, I mean, the parking lot is a massive expense.
Yeah, true.
We're looking at a lot of money that we have to pay to move spaces when we put, if we put the peanut up there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not something that's necessarily recoupable, and it's certainly not usable to every citizen in the city. I don't go there, but.
I'm thinking more along the lines of this, though. I guess I should ask Phil, the structures that are gonna go in the fitness court, are they permanent structures into the ground?
They're pieces that are assembled. I mean, so the court will be positioned to have the box jumps, stuff like that, to be installed in that. They could be removed, and, I mean, the base is a concrete pad. I mean, that's the first thing that goes down, is the concrete pad, then on top, then the boxes.
And looking, and seeing the pictures and whatnot, there's probably some level of flexibility should we would need to move it at some future time. It wouldn't be a
Yeah.
complete loss.
Yeah, is there like a customizable aspect too, or like I could kind of tell that some of the different courts looked similar but maybe different, like.
They have different aspects to it, yeah, and that's the planning stage. In that time that I said, once this goes, we have time, it goes with the planning of what goes in. It's pretty much preset. I think they have different options, but along with the art, there is that what goes where aspect to it. And one other thing I did want to mention, just because I know that one of the first questions I got from somebody outside of either of us was, you know, is it actually going to be used? Part of the reason why Michelle's still sitting here is because Rec is going to work on programming that to make sure it is utilized. So yes, it will be used. Maybe not by me, but, no, I will be. Another joke that missed, sorry.
I can just share too that a few years ago, we untangled some very complicated parking land ownership arrangements, and I believe that we did part of that through the Worcester Growth Corporation. City has the unique ability to move property into its CIC for economic development work. So having worked with the county over the last several years, the philosophy that I've seen, especially from downtown, is for them, the approach is, well, if we lease it but maintain that ownership, we can ensure that there's that public use component. And so I think that's where that's coming from with every conversation that I've had is, hey, we just want to preserve the fact that it's going to be kept in public use. So we've seen increased cooperation. Again, even this parking lot here to the left of the site was one of the ones that got rolled up into this great untangling. But that said, I think it's coming from a place of good intent.
Are there any more questions? Okay, I would like to move to place this on third and final reading this evening.
Second.
Want to call the roll on the vote, please?
Ms. Warden?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mr. Malta?
Yes.
Mr. Abernathy?
Yes.
Mr. Huzay?
Yes.
Mr. Owens?
Yes.
Motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt, is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Hamilton?
Ms. Warden?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mr. Malta?
Yes.
Mr. Abernathy?
Yes.
Mr. Huzay?
Yes.
Mr. Owens?
Yes.
Okay. You Go get your jungle gym equipment there, Phil.
Wait till we get the check, please, before we.
Thank you for putting that together, by the way. We spoke briefly last week, and I said that this is along the line of something I've been hoping to see in downtown Worcester, which is an affordable or cost-free way to bring families downtown and to utilize, and liven up our existing culture down there. So I look forward to seeing it in action.
I do have one more question, Phil. Do we know what like the timeline kind of looks like from about how long it takes to go in once we get the design done?
If the building was down today, it would be in by September. So it all depends on when the building actually comes down.
Fair enough.
And most importantly, Mr. Tursky, what exercise are we gonna make the mayor do when this thing is installed for the social medias?
Oh, so that's the fun thing I haven't told Scott yet, Assistant Chief Rotolo, is that when the National Fitness Campaign comes in, it's all their big wigs that come in. It's a big pomp and circumstance type of thing, and typically they have the firemen versus the cops. So that's what I've been told. I know Joel said he could throw his hat in the ring for that too, but anyone that would like to join.
I don't know what kicks off the mayor going down the slide.
Well, I think we can come with something.
You know, if you saw the pool design for Christmas Run, there's 2 slides on that.
We'll have to raise these ones up for you.
Go in wet.
All right, well, we'll move on to miscellaneous. We've got a couple people that have signed up to speak. Mr. Barnett is the first one that's signed up to speak.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, council. Ladies and gentlemen, in the past, I brought up a half a dozen negative things about building the peanut. I'm gonna throw another one out at you. It's not that funny, Mr. Ball. Our fireworks. It's total chaos up there at them intersections. Wait till they put that peanut up there. Chief, you'll have to bring some more police officers back on duty that you took off. Okay, enough of that. Now I'm gonna go someplace else. Lucas, Jennifer, Chris, Tyler, Michael, Drew, Paul, Steve, Drew, Paul, Steve. I'm gonna ask you people, from a person to person, please, please do not vote on this peanut when it comes time. Please. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Not sure, Candy and Jerry Smith? Okay.
They were
signed-
here, and I think they left.
Yeah, that's what,
Kurt.
oh, okay, all right. All right, well, that's it for that.
And Mr. Sanders, I'll just interject. So that was the couple that was here
2
last
weeks
meeting.
ago, right.
And I think the administration's done a good job of reaching out to keep you informed about the follow-up. And I think they were here with some questions. I think Kurt got those answered in the hallway. And so that, again, we're moving forward with that. There's a lot of work to be done. Taking down those trees was just the first part of that, because the actual work on cleaning up that culvert and
Buried structures in there.
what the engineers call structures, but I think of manholes and pipes and things like that. That's ongoing, so that'll be playing out over the next couple of months, but, so that's where we are on that.
Okay, thank you. All right. Mr. Huzay, what do you have for us in miscellaneous?
Nothing else except go Cavs, and congratulations to Tony Lemon on his retirement. Well deserved. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Paul?
Nothing other than congratulations to Tony Levin and go Cavs.
Mr. Abernathy,
I won't repeat that stuff. I have nothing more to add.
very good. Mr. Gaffey,
Yeah, I just, really encouraged by, the growth of Wago and how that's serving our citizens. I think it's nice to hear that and see some of those things, and also, even though, Mr. Doherty, your reports are boring and, unexciting,
Just like we
I
like
think it's nice, not being a financial person myself, it's nice to see, some of the details of how the city is proactive at procuring grants and things, and how, they do try and, be responsible with taxpayer dollars. So, definitely appreciate that. And also just wanted to say I do appreciate Landry's efforts in communication. I think communication is very important for the city, to be transparent with citizens and let them know what's going on. And so I've definitely noticed that on social media and stuff, and I'm sure citizens appreciate that as well. So that's all for me.
all right, thank you. Ms. Warden?
Well said. I would like to congratulate all of the businesses who were recognized by the Wayne County Economic Development Council. The business I work for is included in that, so we're kind of proud about that acknowledgement, but it was especially cool to see the lyric, the focus of one of the awards. Of course, I forget the name of the actual recognition they received, but very, very well deserved. It is truly a gem in our downtown, as are all of the other businesses that are located in Worcester and around Wayne County that were recognized in that. So I was very pleased to see that. And to reiterate, I definitely want to wish Tony Lemon a congratulations on his retirement. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Malta?
Thank you, and thank you all for attending, as always, and for those watching tonight. I want to really thank you guys for showing up. I'm guessing you're worth the truth.
What gave it away?
Just guessing. I'm not sure. I don't want to call you something you're not. I hope we were somewhat entertaining, somewhat educational, at least gave you some kind of clue on the process here. Thank you for coming.
They're working on communication merit badge, so hopefully we've given a pretty good education in terms of how you professionally communicate.
Always start with a joke.
Even the bad.
Don't listen to him.
Thanks a lot.
Mr. Owens?
Again, thank you everyone for coming out. I would like to highlight that on May 2nd, Saturday the 2nd, from 12 to 2, there will be a give and take food drive down on the Worcester Square. The last time we did one of these was, back in February, I think. It was earlier in the year. We gave away about 1,400 pounds of food. So if you have some extra you want to donate, please feel free to come by. Always need, food like you think, but also pet foods, cat litter, personal hygiene supplies. And if you need anything, please come down. We'll be bringing it in, sending it right back out ideally. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.